What is up, everyone? How's it going? The Baltimore Orioles have agreed to a 1-year, $13 million deal with Japanese pitcher Tomoyuki Sugano. I've sat here and listened to his name be pronounced like 6 times, and I probably still butchered it, but I tried. I genuinely tried. I'm giving myself A for effort. I took the time, watched the video. We're going with that. Sugano, that's how that's what I'm gonna refer to him as. Sugano. Initial thoughts. I don't have enough information on him to have initial thoughts. That's my initial thoughts. Listen, he's a 35-year-old pitcher who has never pitched in Major League Baseball before. It's hard for me to sit here and say great job or say this is horrible. This is a true we will wait and see type of signing. I saw people beforehand comparing it to Shota Imanaga, and I agree. I think it can be something very similar to that. I think, as a 35-year-old Japanese pitcher, he's got 6 pitches, and his big thing is command. Rod, yeah, there's good resumes, and then there's great resumes. Let's not get twisted. Sugano is a all-time great Japanese pitcher. If you look at his accomplishments, at his statistics, reading up on him, he is one of the guys that they consider kind of the all-time great. He pretty much won the NBP's Cy Young. That, it's not called the Cy Young, but their version of the Cy Young back-to-back years in 17-18. He won the MVP 2014 and 2020, 8-time All-Star, pitching Triple Crown, 4 league ERA titles, and 2 league strikeout titles. This guy's good. This guy was very good. He dominated the competition there, And Samuel, I'm saying, I wonder why he is just now coming over. So I was curious about that too. I looked it up. He was posted in 2020, 2021, coming over at his age 31 season. And he and an MLB team couldn't get a deal done for the money they wanted by the deadline. So back in 2020, I guess going into the 2021 season, he was a free agent in MLB baseball. He was, I guess, looking for a certain amount of money. Teams didn't give him it, and he went back to Japan, and now his contract's up, so he is the way it works, I guess, this time, because he already timed out of the last one. He had unlimited amount of time, so he signs with Baltimore. This is how old? He's 35. 35. I've been seeing this. I've been seeing this. This might be to help with Roki. I'm all for it. I don't see Roki Sasaki coming here. I really don't. I still think he goes to a team on the West Coast. I think he's going to a Seattle. I think he's going to maybe Padres, maybe the Dodgers. I've seen the Cubs have a chance at him, but really, I find it hard to believe Roki Sasaki's going to be in Baltimore next year, even if this would be some sort of move to kind of be like, hey, here can be a mentor type figure for you. I just still find it hard to think that would be enough to get him to come to Baltimore. Overall, let's kind of dig deeper into this. Like I said before in my tweet, we are going to learn about him, Tomoyuki, together. We're gonna learn about him together. So pretty much he has a 6-pitch arsenal. He uses 4-seam fastball, cutter, slider, splitter, sinker, and curveball. He uses the 4-seam fastball and cutter the most, combining for 46% of his usage. Also uses the slider and splitter a lot, with sinker and curveball being kind of just in his arsenal, but doesn't always pull him out of the bag, being at 9% and 8%. He sits low 90s on kind of his velocity for his fastball. So he's sitting more 92 on his 4-seam and 91 on his sinker. He's hanging around the mid to low 80s on his off-speed stuff, the slider, splitter, curveball 77 miles per hour. So overall, he's a command guy. He's not going to blow you away with velocity. He's not going to show up in Baltimore and start pounding 98 on the corner. That's not who he is. But I do know one thing. What did everyone love about Zach Eflin? What was the one thing that Oriole fans loved about Zach Eflin after they acquired him? He doesn't walk people. He doesn't walk people. And when I say he doesn't walk people, let me find the official stats. He walked, I believe, last year 16 batters in like 160 innings. Not too bad. If someone wants to help me find the official stat. Did Rock Kabako put it out? Actually, I think I bookmarked it. So he's a guy who he simply doesn't walk people. 111 strikeouts last year to 16 walks. So 111. So he's not necessarily a strikeout pitcher because 160 innings, I believe, and only 111 strikeouts. He's not a strikeout pitcher per se, but he's not going to walk guys. You know, his walk K to walk ratio, that's what? That's almost 10 to 1. My math was completely off there. Almost like 6 to 1, 5 to 1. It's impressive. I mean, it definitely is one of those pitchers that we always talk about how annoying it is. Nothing good ever happens after a walk. Nothing good ever happens after a walk, especially last year when we saw how many times it felt like the Orioles would walk a batter, then they'd steal second, get in scoring position, bloop single, they're in, and that was the difference in a game. So it's a very, I love the idea of getting a guy who can come in here and he's not going to hurt himself. Now, once again, I want to preface all of this is speculative because he's never faced. Okay, I should not say he's never faced this competition. He actually, in the 2017 World Baseball Classic, there's a compilation going around. He struck out like Adam Jones, Nolan Arenado, all those guys. And Sam, this is what I'm saying. We'll see. Like, this is a big, like, you can look at the stats, you can look at the percentages, but we don't know. You know, you can look at some guys recently. Imanaga come in. He did well. He translated immediately. Yamamoto's translated immediately, but it doesn't work with every guy. So it genuinely is. We can look at these stats. We can look at all this stuff and speculate, okay, he should be able to. I like that he doesn't walk guys. That should translate. He gets weaker contact. In those situations, I feel like he projects well. From everyone I've seen, everyone that covers him, stuff like that, they say he has extremely nasty stuff, that he's an incredible pitcher, but we don't know. You know, we won't be able to know and take really this into account as, okay, what is he? Until probably July. You know, you're going to have to let him, if he starts out slow, you can't give up on him. You know, it's one of those situations where you don't want to just give up on him early, or if he comes out on fire, you don't want to expect that for every single game. So this is one of those situations where, and no, it has nothing to do with that, but it's just a completely different, the ball is different, like the way that the ball is physically, like the stick stuff on it component, like it is just a completely different game out there. So it always takes time to adjust. Yeah. And so this guy, he could come in, and we've seen him in the World Baseball Classic go out and shut down the USA offense. So this isn't some guy that it's like, hey, he pitched well in single A ball. Can he come prove it in the majors? He has a very, very long track record of being a damn good pitcher. So if you look at the track record you all project, he's a guy that I see very, very. I would love him in that 4th and 5th spot, which is going to take me to my next point. This can't be the only move. And yes, this is pretty damn good. I would say it's pretty damn good. This cannot be the only move. You can't expect this to be the Corbin Burnes replacement. You can't expect this to be, hey, we added Sugano, we're good. We're good. We go to the season. There still needs to be a trade. I don't believe the Orioles are going to get Corbin Burnes. I think he's going to San Francisco. I'm sorry. If you still have hope for Corbin Burnes to come back, the Orioles are, I guess, technically interested. I don't see it happening. I'm sorry. I don't. Maybe I'm just kind of in my head playing. I'm preparing for the worst, hoping for the best. I would absolutely pass out if he returned, but I'm not banking on it. And Zach, yeah, former Orioles Zach Flowers. Zach, I agree. This is a very, and I believe Jacob Calvin Meyer actually was the one who put it out. So Jacob Calvin Meyer, friend of the Ryan Ripken show, was just on with us actually at the winter meetings. Let's show this. So here is what the Orioles rotation would look like. Let me screw that up a little bit. So opening day with Sugano, you got Zach Eflin, Grayson Rodriguez. You can go 1-2 depending on kind of what you prefer. I would probably put Eflin at 1. I like that. Kramer, Sugano, Trevor Rogers. I know people are going to be upset about Trevor Rogers being in there. Listen, they're going to give him his opportunity. They traded Norby for him. They traded Stowers for him. They're not giving up on this guy. They got him for a reason. He improved down in AAA at the end of the year. So other options, Cade Povich, Albert Suarez, Brandon Young, and Chase McDermott. So also, I think he added on that, yes, injured Kyle Bradish and Tyler Wells. So they're your kind of options at the moment. Everyone knows, if you've been watching this, you know I absolutely love Cade Povich. I think Cade Povich is going to be a star in this league. I genuinely do. And yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people. And hey, Zach, Roger sucked last year, yes. However, sometimes things just don't click right away. Give him a chance this year. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that's what I'm saying. When, they gave up valuable prospects to get him, they are not just going to be like, oh, well, didn't work out the first half of the season that we had him for. It's over. They're going to give him the opportunity. They are not giving up on him. Mike Elias has talked about, Brandon Hyde has talked about how they felt like Rodgers in AAA last year. He kind of just flamed out at the end. He was tired towards the end of the season, overused, and they felt like he took strides. His numbers, he did the classic. He went down, started working on stuff, and his numbers inflated. He had, I think, like 8 earned runs his second time there. It just didn't look good, but it's because he's working on things. By the time it was over, he was back to looking like a major league pitcher. So, yeah. And hey, Zach, it's the same guy, people that made the Burnes trade. You trusted them on that. Yeah. So this is one of those moves, especially because I think as much as people, I know they want that frontline guy, and I would love it too. The depth here is solid. If you can get that one guy maybe at the top, and this is mostly because if I was guaranteed Kyle Bradish would be back in the second half, I would feel comfortable with this because I think Kyle Bradish is, when he's healthy, a top 7 pitcher in baseball. But overall, the depth is there. I still want a top end guy. I still think a guy like that Burns-esque to go out there. I know he's not on that level. I love Luis Castillo. I absolutely love the idea of trading with Seattle because, in all honesty, I've said it a million times, it just makes sense. It just makes so much sense. The Orioles have hitters that are expendable. The Mariners need hitting. They have so many pitchers that are expendable. I love that idea there. And well, hopefully Felix Bautista will hold that down. So it's going to be interesting kind of as we get close to the season. If this is the same rotation we're looking at, if they go out and add a Dylan Cease or a Luis Castillo, I think those are the two names that have been linked to the Orioles that we know the Orioles have checked in on. But after that, it's one of those funny things. Put in the chat right now if at any point you said to yourself, wow, the Orioles are in on Tomoyuki Sugano. I didn't know. Had no idea. Not a clue. So it proves we don't, even the insiders, they don't always know. It really, no clue. No clue. I even talked to Ryan. Ryan literally was like, didn't see this coming. Didn't know. So in those, you really never know. When we sit here, and I know people are saying Elias isn't doing anything. Elias isn't. They've been obviously negotiating with Sugano, and nobody had any clue. We don't always know what these guys are up to. So overall, we got an update from Kevin Ostreicher. He's doing ads for Locked On Ravens, and then he is hopping on with us. So we are so lucky that he will bless us with this. Also, just want to point out, everyone, Marshall University is currently in the national championship 0-0 with Vermont. So Marshall thundering Herd, 17th minute. But I'm talking Tomoyuki Sugano with you people because I love ball. Zach, honestly, if you want me to send you the link, I will send you the link if you would like to hop on. We can get some Zach Squared React going on right now. Marshall is no longer playing Army. They had to quit because of, I guess not forfeit, opt out because of guys. So what's his signature pitch? Like I said, he's a 6-pitch pitcher. So 4-seam, cutter, slider, splitter, sinker, curveball. Overall, just kind of going off, he gets his most whiffs with his split finger. He's getting a lot of whiffs, actually. He's got 47% whiff percentage on his split finger versus righties. So this no, he does not have a gyro ball. He does not have a gyro ball. So 1 sec, everyone. I'm making sure Kevin is. You see, people, this is the behind the scenes stuff. Gotta send the link off so we can get. Oh, yep. Zach actually just sent it on over. So we get Zach Lowther on here. Talk a little Orioles baseball. Get some pitching from a guy who's pitched in the majors, because who better to ask about this stuff? So finally, let's kind of, before we get back into everything regarding Sugano, I don't think, I know a lot of people have been asking about Corbin Burns and what this means. I do genuinely think he's gone. Rod, you already know this is happening. He's gonna walk like 3-4 guys, and people are gonna be like, "We were lied to. He walks everyone." Yes, he's gonna be a starter. I would be very shocked if maybe long relief if they go out and get a few other guys, but I would, if you're giving him 13 mil across 1 year for 1 year, I would assume he's going to be a starter. This is he's been a starter his whole career, so I would expect him to continue to be a starter. Yeah, and here's the other thing. If his ERA even doubles, he's got a 3-1 ERA, 3.2. All right. Even if it doubles, you give me a 3 ERA for 13 million any day of the week. Any day of the week. So I'm excited about this. I think, like I said before, I don't think this can be the only move. Obviously, especially offensively, I don't think this can be the only move. But overall, I like where this is, where this move is heading, because also $13 million. Everyone's saying Michael Elias isn't spending money. He's already paid $8.5 million for a backup catcher, paying $13 million for a Japanese pitcher to come over, and then he's also $50 million to Tyler O'Neill. So the checkbook is starting to open up, which is not the vibes you'd get if you were looking on Twitter. But behind the scenes, joining me now, we got a former Orioles pitcher, Zach Lowther. Zach and Zach React. How we doing?
Oh, we're doing, man. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Good to see you. Where are you right now?
I'm in the Dominican, just watching our game right now.
I'm glad you have power.
Oh, finally. We're working on it. I was back like 3 days ago. I took a little vacation with my wife, and then came back, didn't sit down for more than 10 minutes, and it went off. No, that's great.
Incredible. Don't you look? So, Zach, let's get kind of your initial thoughts just from what you've seen on Sugano. Just kind of what are your thoughts with this move?
He's experienced, which too much experience is never a bad thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, you look up and down winning teams, they have experience mixed with like really talented young guys. So having the experience is going to be great to be in there. Obviously, hopefully he's able to communicate well with guys coming in, because like dude's 35 and he's played a lot of baseball, a lot of professional baseball at high levels. So being able to communicate with younger guys just in different experiences, and hopefully he brings over some of that culture that you hear so much about in Japan, where it's the fundamentals, it's doing the little things right, and being able to kind of keep instilling that, because from everything I've heard, they do things so much different over there.
Yes.
And like it's hardcore practice every day before the game. It's we're trying to win every single pitch, move the runners over, that kind of stuff. So like I'm hoping that he kind of brings that to the team and just kind of pushes everyone back into doing all the little things that you can get away from in a long season. So I'm curious to see what it looks like from that perspective, but his numbers don't lie. Like yes, you can argue that the league as a whole in Japan isn't as well-rounded as the MLB. However, you put up good numbers.
Yeah.
They are bound to translate when you have that adjustment period.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and that's the biggest thing is I think it's the adjustment period because Rod, someone put in the chat a few minutes ago about he's going to have one mediocre bad start at the beginning and people just you can't freak out. Like it's going to happen. It's an adjustment period because even like you said, it's a play style adjustment. You know, it's not just, and that's why when you look at numbers and stuff, and especially strikeouts, you know, over there, it is very contact oriented. It's not a very, it like you don't like striking out. Like here, you have a lot of guys who make money hitting home runs or striking out. Over there, it's very, like you said, win every at bat. You know, move runners over. Let's find ways to win everything and not just be hey, he's swung for the fences and missed or he hit a home run.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I mean, I played in 3 different leagues this year and played with a lot of different guys that have played in a lot of different places. And the one thing that I've seen is everywhere else outside of the US, it's about winning no matter what. And for him to kind of have that feeling coming over here, he's going to take it that way. And just like you saw with Ohtani and, I mean, Darvish has been here long enough, but he had the same struggle. All these guys that come over, they've had their own struggles. Mm-hmm. And you kind of just have to accept that there's going to be a struggle. And if they really are good enough, which they all are coming over here, that they will figure it out. So you just have to trust them and trust that the Orioles front office, the coaching staff, all that is going to do everything they can to keep promoting, you know, hey, we will help you figure this out. Whatever you need, come to us. And I think that that's important and a good comfort factor because anyone coming over from a different country, like you have to have that comfort factor with the people that you're coming to.
Yeah.
So he's obviously having the comfortability with the coaching staff, the people in place. I think that dynamic will work really well.
Yeah, and people are talking about it in the chat as well. Albert Suarez, almost identical situation last year. Obviously, Albert had time in the majors back in 2017 and prior, but a guy who came over, who hadn't pitched in the majors in 7 years, went over there at 35 years old, comes back exact same age. And we all saw how that was. And then real fast, I got real. Kevin Ostreicher finally decided to show up for work. Kevin.
About time.
I know. We
man,
were running
what is this? Zach and Zach reacts? Like, man. Like what was I guess you can chop off the Kevin and just do Zach reacts.
I know that's what people in the chat were finding different ways to do the name. But
yeah,
Kevin, decided, who better to get the opinion of than someone been there, done that.
Someone who had this happen in the middle of a recording, and I've had no chance to do any research. So is a consolation. I've decided this is the perfect time to introduce our new kitten that we've had for 2 months. So we haven't been able to. So I'll bring her. Come, there you go. This is Myra.
Orioles sign a pitcher, and Kevin. Wow, this is Sparks Phi.
Myra, Kevin, and Zach react.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. So,
Kevin,
although she doesn't really like being held that much.
Wow.
So
and yes. Hold on.
Oh God.
What?
KCLR. It sounds like
4 legs.
Oh, 4 legs.
4 legs.
That's big. That's big. I didn't know. Kevin, I'm glad one. I'm glad one of your cats has all 4 legs.
Yes. So she turned 8 months yesterday.
Yeah. But Kevin, pretty much actually funny enough, you talk about not knowing much about Sugano. We kind of have been sitting here going through it together. It literally has been a learn together type of thing because as my point was actually right before Zach hopped on is no one knew this was going down. And this is talking about when people are saying the Orioles are doing nothing. We don't know the conversations going on. So, just one of the moves that kind of came out of nowhere. I think he slots in really nicely as a 4 or 5 guy. He 150 innings last year, 150 plus innings last year, only 16 walks. Big.
Yeah.
1.57 ERA. Dude has I think 2.40 ERA across 1,800 innings or something in his career. So experienced.
Yeah.
Is it the worst thing in the world to have another type of like Eflin on board? Eats innings, doesn't walk guys, is a leader in the clubhouse, older veteran. Like all those are good qualities, and to have another one of those in your rotation, heck, at the worst thing, he goes into the bullpen and he's a long guy. Opens up a spot for another high leverage guy to get bumped back and not be used in a long situation.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly what the intriguing part is the fact that he could be that next Zach Eflin for you, because I kind of talked about it before where the big thing that people loved about Zach Eflin was he didn't put guys on base. It's not hurting yourself, because it felt like multiple times last year, something that really hurt the Orioles, especially. Let's look at the one guy, I think, kind of the poster boy for it last year, Cade Povich. The games he had control and wasn't walking versus didn't, he was looking like a guy who could be a top 3 pitcher in rotation one day versus a guy where you're like, oh, this is tough to watch out there. So command has always been something that if you don't hurt yourself, you're not putting guys on base for free. It just helps the team out. It puts you in such a better position to win. And that's why guys like Eflin and Sugano are so critical down the stretch, because especially in the playoffs, the last thing you need is to get guys on base. And when guys get on base, traffic starts going. It just pressure starts building. So not giving free passes, because nothing good happens after a walk. Nothing.
Yeah, I think also this is a good move. I don't think it can be the move of the offseason, obviously, right? I think you still need to add more. Obviously, ideally, Corbin comes back, but that situation, I don't even know what the timeline is for Corbin at this point. Do you guys have any guesses? Because it seems like the market's slowing down a lot. So
I think the hot stove has been pretty much turned off. I think everyone, I feel like we're getting kind of close to that point where it's like, oh, everyone else does have lives as well. And like these agents and stuff, like it's Christmas. Like Corbin's like, I'm going to enjoy. Like I think Corbin I could see sign quickly, but I think for these my rate of moves, I think we're kind of going to simmer down a little bit before we see a bunch of moves happening back to back to back again, kind of like we did at the winter meetings.
I'm curious to know if the Max Fried contract kind of reset the market for Corbin. Maybe something was in the pipeline for like 8 years for less money, and then Fried signs. I know lefty righty, but like they're about the same age. And I mean, if you're just going off of WAR, Fried does have a better WAR, but for the most part, he's been on a more winning team.
Yeah.
But same thing. I mean, Corbin has a Cy Young, Fried doesn't. So it's more so just like, I'm wondering if that's kind of the holdup and Fried kind of reset the market that
I think so.
Corbin was looking for. So I don't know. Obviously, everyone's bouncing around to try and get Sasaki over from Japan too. So like I know the Giants were in on that, and
and that's the other thing is that's a time sensitive. Obviously, it's not. He's going to sign before the deadline, but there's obviously no deadline to sign Corbin Burnes. Everyone's kind of trying to get their initial pitches in on Sasaki. So yeah, that could as well. I've also seen actually, I believe Ken Rosenthal earlier today tweeted out that Burnes is possibly okay with a higher AAV and lower year type deal maybe this offseason now. So I'm not sure if that's something where the Max Fried contract hit and he's thinking, okay, I would rather take 3 years and then go back into the market, get a lot of money up front, go back in the market. But it's also, just a security level. I feel like if you're able to get 7-8 years like Max Fried, that's a lot of, $218 million. If you can, I know obviously if he gets 3 years, whatever, I would probably say if it's 3 years, maybe close to that 140, 150 range. If you're going to go very low years, but obviously there's the risk that something happens in those 3 years and suddenly you're not the same pitcher. You don't command the same contract. So there's risk involved for both there.
Yeah, and I think that is what it is too, where when you pay a guy who's 30, 31, 32, and you give him 6, 7, 8 years, you are paying for the first 3 to 4 years of that deal. And then you kind of just have to live with it for, once he gets into the late 30s portion of that deal, depending on, and everybody's different, right? Some people can stave off by the time for a little longer than,
there's
others
freaks
can.
like Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander who are like getting to 40 years old and you're still like, if they ask for a 2-3 year deal, I could give it to them. Like, they're the anomalies in this business that just are absolutely unreal.
Yeah. No, I'd be interested to see. I mean, you still have other guys out there, and I do feel like spring training trade, once more rosters are finalized. I mean, I'm down in the Dominican, and guys are getting signed for minor league contracts left and right, and you're getting big league invites. So they're still trying to round out like that pool too. So there's just a lot of question marks with a lot of teams that I think Corbin goes out west. I don't see him.
Yeah.
If something was going to get done, it would have gotten done during the season or closer to winter meetings when everything was happening. But I just think the Orioles are looking elsewhere to try and make some trades. I mean, Walker Buehler's still out there. I know he was a little shaky as a starter towards the end of the year. I mean, he had a great World Series game, but he was just a little uneasy there. But he would still be a great guy too. So I mean,
he's a low risk, high reward type guy because if he gets back to even half of what he was at his full health, that is a very, very good pitcher that you'd be acquiring. So I like guys like that. Obviously, I agree. I think the Sasaki deal honestly leads to a trade because he's going to go, I think, to like a Padres, to a Mariners. And then their influx of pitching, they're going to become expendable. And I think they're already looking to make moves. But if you add Sasaki, they'll definitely be like, we got to go give up someone to get something somewhere else. So I think it's going to be a domino effect in that aspect. But, bring it all back to Sugano. I think this is, one of those deals where you feel good if you're Baltimore. It's low risk, high reward. It's only a 1-year deal. It's a 35-year-old pitcher, but it's a 35-year-old pitcher who has the track record that you're looking at and saying, damn, this is a very good pitcher that should translate to Major League Baseball and the way he pitches, his style of pitching. It's not like he blows guys away with velo, and if you catch up to it, he's, expendable there. He doesn't walk guys. He's not going to cost himself an at-bat. So that usually translates over to the majors. Like you talked about, Zach, the experience in it. He doesn't have to come out here and be the ace. He doesn't have to be that, being that consistent, well-oiled machine, and just like Zach Eflin, just be the model of consistency. If you can do that, you're going to be very successful.
Yeah, I think too, there's a lot of good in bringing in a guy who has experience to a young team. I mean, that's what we were talking about all last season, right? I know it's not MLB experience, obviously, but just being around the game, that's a major thing. Did you guys talk or look at injury history? Is there any injury history here? I didn't catch any of that.
So I saw that he had an injury-plagued 2023 and that this was a bounce-back year in 2024. But besides that, I'm seeing pretty – actually, let me look at it.
Pretty much every year 2023 was his only year under 100 innings at minimum.
Yeah.
And then besides that, he threw a couple innings with 120 innings. Mm-hmm. But, he's maxed out in his prime of 200 innings. And this year he was at 156 at the age of 34. So I think that, obviously anything can happen. You saw young guys get hurt this year for the Orioles. So it's like you can't really be like, oh, because they have a history, that means they're going to get hurt again. You can use that logic. Oh, they've never been hurt, so they're bound to get hurt now. So it's like you can't just play both sides of that. If he's healthy now, you have to go based off a recent memory. And that's my opinion. And that's why I think having a guy like him will be valuable. He has under a 1 WHIP. He had a sub-2 ERA this year. It's like numbers are numbers. The results don't lie. And his ability to command the ball, throw strikes, not walk guys, limit hit, like he knows how to pitch, and you can't take that away. And I think that's what they're looking for based off of, maybe he only gives you a good 1/2 of the year where, you get to the Bradish, you get to Tyler Wells coming back, you get to all these guys that are going to be good to go by halfway through, maybe late into the season, where they're just starting to get their flow going. So maybe that's what they're looking for. Maybe they're looking for a holdover. You know, eats the innings, saves the bullpen till later in the season, just stuff like that. So it's never a bad thing to have a guy that can do that.
No, and we also have no idea, like you said, kind of what their thought process for this is. Is it just simply everyone's looking at this as it's, this big thing and they're like, this is just a holdover? Is it, they're just kicking the tires on it? We don't know what they have up their sleeve. No one even really knew this deal was in the works. So it just kind of goes out to prove that we never know what's going on behind the scenes of any of these really, these organizations. So you gotta, I like what you talked about in the chat, Zach. This is the same front office that went out and got Corbin Burns. It's the same guys that have produced all these pitchers, developed. They hate them or love the moves. They've gone out and made moves. They've been able to open up the wallet this year. There's been a lot of money for the Orioles thrown around. The salary's going to be getting up there, what people want to see. I don't think they're done, whether it's a trade or a signing, but I think this is a good signing. I don't think it can be the signing, as we're saying, but the Orioles got better today. Like we always say, the Orioles got better today, and that's what matters.
Yeah, it's important that they are at least trying. Now, obviously, if we are here again in 2 months and saying this was the last move the Orioles made, I think we'd have to have a real conversation. But I think that all of us understand that, there's more to be done here, at least hopefully. Yeah. So whether that's acquiring a guy in a trade, whether by some way, shape, or form Corbin comes back, I don't know. Like maybe, probably not, but maybe there's a lot that this team can do over the next month plus. And now you have options, because I think at this point, we talked so much last year about how they had 7-8 guys at the start of the season. And by the time we were done with the year, it was like, hanging on by a thread and like seeing who's going to go and what it was going to be.
Never have too much depth.
Exactly.
Never have too
much depth.
And then, Joe, appreciate you. This is a question for you, Zach. Have you faced, I guess, Gary Sanchez?
I don't believe so. I've faced his team a couple times, but I don't think he was down here yet or active yet. So there's been a couple guys I've faced, but not him. I do play with one of the minor leaguers that we just signed, Raul Alcantara.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was on my team this year. Lefty from like low 3/4, just slings the ball at mid to upper 90s. He's 23.
Oh
my gosh!
Wow.
I think he made it up to AAA with the Mariners, I want to say, and he's already a free agent, so he'll be pretty impressive. I think once they get his hands on him, it'll be pretty nice to have in the bullpen, and it's different from what they've typically found, which is higher arm slot, high velo righties.
Yeah.
So to have a lefty, yeah. I mean, right now Aiken and Sugano are the only two in the and now that Coulombe's gone, right?
Yeah, Coulombe's. They said that they've monitored his, his free agency, but if you weren't going to take him back for, I think it was $4 million. It's maybe if he comes back for $2 million, maybe something like that. But it felt like that deal, we were everyone seemed a little shocked by it, but they know more than we do. It's definitely, I think it was the elbow injuries got to him a little bit more.
Yeah, I think if you're going to trust the front office, it goes back to what I was saying before. If you're going to trust them in the moves that you like, you have to trust them in the moves that you don't really understand.
I like that.
These guys are professionals at what they do, and if you like what they've done so far with signing and drafting, how they've done it, you kind of have to just roll with the punches. And, obviously you can't just blindly support them, but you have to support them through all of it. Like, you're going to hit, you're going to miss. Like, that's just part of it. Like, maybe you find a diamond in the rough with Gary Sanchez, and Tyler O'Neill is everything you want him to be, replacing Santander. Like,
yeah,
you just don't know. No.
Yeah, it's a matter of not assessing everything until the offseason is over. And, right now we're kind of piecing together like, okay, here's Tyler O'Neill. Oh, here's Gary Sanchez. Oh, here's a pitcher. Like, okay, now we can talk about this, or what's coming. We don't know what's coming down the pipeline a day from now, a week from now, a month from now. We can come back here once opening day starts, because I don't think it's going to be as much this year, but we saw a lot of guys sign very late into this spring training, and they didn't have that. Again, I think that's kind of done with now for the most part, but on opening day, we can have a different conversation about, okay, this was the Orioles offseason. Right now, we're living in it right now. We're in the middle of it. So individual moves, we can talk about, oh, hey, yeah, you're right, Zach. Like, O'Neill versus Santander, or can Gary Sanchez be better than James McCann, or whatever that is. But I'm very curious to see when we're back here after opening day what this team looks like, because I think it will look different. And even with trades, like, does Ryan Mountcastle get moved? Everybody's putting together, well, hey, if the Mariners are looking for some offense and they have some pitchers like a Castillo available, does some sort of swap make sense there? So I'm curious to see what the big league roster looks like, because even some guys who have been around for a while might not be with the team in a couple of months.
Yeah. So I got one thing I was just thinking about. We keep talking about the pitching side and all that. I thought the pitching was fine last year. You take out the injuries that you can't foresee happening, and when they just didn't have the depth to continue the same level that they had with their starters.
Yeah.
So my biggest thing is there a world where they make a play for Alex Bregman, because you have that connection with the front offices? Like, they obviously liked him enough to draft him out of college. Obviously, no-brainer kind of thing.
Yeah.
But do they move one of the younger pieces to bring in a guy like Bregman, or do they shift the infield a little bit, get rid of a guy like Mountie to bring in someone like Bregman, who, I'm not saying one's better than the other, but he's got a lot more experience. He's put up the numbers more consistently. I think that could change a lot of opinions, especially in the lineup.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, right now I feel like you have a lot of the lineup. When you look at it, it's all still sort of that, there's that potential, star in the lineup. Gunnar, obviously, we've seen him for stretches at a time. He's going to do Gunnar things, but that extra guy to kind of solidify it all, put it all together. Last year, obviously, at Santander, kind of act as that guy. But yeah, a Bregman, an experienced guy who's been there, done that. He's had a very weird market. I feel like I've seen at times the Yankees have been in, that they've been out, the Nats have been in, then they've been out. So yeah, but I feel like I've also seen him linked to the Orioles because of what you said, the fact that Elias was there, one of the guys who drafted him. It's the same front office. Obviously, they like their guys for a reason. We've seen a lot of guys that were there in the with the Astros at some point kind of have made their way to Baltimore.
Yeah, you can use him in a floater role almost. I mean, you mentioned Santander kind of being that guy. Like, you can float guys around. You can give guys time at DH or give them whatever it may be. It's valuable to where, like, yes, at that point, you're going to have to figure out how you want to configure your infield and what that kind of looks like. But talent is talent. And if a guy comes in and, like, a guy like Bregman comes in and can give you a quality season, I think you just sign a guy and you figure it out. It's a good problem to have.
Well, my thing is, like, obviously the infield is very full right now with young guys who have proven themselves. Gunnar, Jackson still has a little bit of time. I'm never going to give up on him. No. But, like, Westberg, I love Jordan. But if you bring Bregman in, that opens up the potential to trade a guy like Westberg and get an ace. And you open up a lot of possibility, like you said, Kevin. Having more depth and having that talent is never a bad thing. I mean, You've seen for the Orioles for the past couple of years in the minor leagues, having that depth in cases of the Burns trade, Trevor Rogers trade, like that's not a bad thing. And you kind of just figure out what's going to work best in the front office's eyes.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing is it does add that extra spot where then guys do become expendable. You know, we've seen because guys like Kobe Mayo, you know, he's got to, if it's not early this year, if it's not even this year, in 2026, let's even say this year he has a weird role, there's got to be a spot somewhere for him. So if you're not going to have that, do you say, okay, Kobe, we're putting Kobe in a trade because there's nowhere in the infield. If Westberg is sticking at third, if we get a Bregman, you know, you have Holiday, you have Gunnar, there's nowhere to put a Mayo. So yeah, do you package a guy like that or one of these young guys to get a frontline bona fide starter with some control that you can say that's, you know, the guy we want to put up top?
Yeah. I mean, I don't see that happening, but it would be interesting just with the history between the front office and him and being able to say, like, we have a World Series champ, like he's experienced. He's got a 272 career average, like plays a great defense. Like that, there's not one negative thing on field that I could say about having a guy like that on the team. You know,
it's just going to be a matter of, you know, what do some of these guys' markets look like and when do they sign? At some point, do guys, you know, if we're getting really late into the process, are they just going to say, hey, I want a 1 year high money prove it deal and I'm going to hit the market again next year and, you know, reap the rewards of that? Or is there going to be a team that comes in with one of those Godfather offers right towards the end there? Because there are still a lot of quality players available, both in free agency and via trade. I think we're going to see a lot more moves made over the course of the next month plus, but it's interesting because, you know, the Orioles don't have as strong of a farm system as they did at this time last year. Now, it doesn't mean they don't have a good farm system. I'm not saying that. But, you know, you move off of guys like Joey Ortiz and you trade away guys like Norby and Stowers, who are still older for prospects. But regardless, I mean, you move off of a couple of guys like that, still have tradable prospects and guys you can throw into deals, make moves with, and you have your certain list of untouchable prospects, obviously. But at this point, like Zach said, Zach L, since we're doing, you know, little name tags here. This is what Zach said about, you know, if signing a Bregman happens, does that make one of your infielders? And I think you do power of deduction, and that is Jordan Westberg, because Gunner's not going anywhere. Jackson's not going anywhere. So is that a Westberg? And you can go get a Corbin Burns type level ace with a player like that. I don't think that's like, if I had to put money on it, I'd probably say that doesn't happen, but it's not out of the realm of possibility, because I don't know if anybody was sitting on their phone tonight at 5 p.m. saying, oh, the Orioles are about to sign a pitcher, and nobody knew it. So anything can happen at any time with the baseball offseason. And that's why I all sports off seasons. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, well, baseball's the one where it'll all happen super fast for like 4 moves. And then you go a few weeks and nothing happens. And then randomly you just get, like tonight, you're just literally sitting there. And I had a double take at my phone. I was like, Orioles agreed to deal. I was like, Orioles agree to it. I was like, with who? I was like, I didn't know we were talking to anyone, which just proves once again, we don't know what Elias and them are doing. For everyone who's like, Elias isn't making any moves. You never know what's happening. You never know what's happening.
Realistically, someone brought up the Mariners here. If you sign Bregman, we're running off this case.
Yeah,
you could get a guy like Castillo for a guy like Westberg. And
I honestly, for Castillo, I don't even think it would take that much, because they're trying to move off his contract. I think now, obviously, it would be a higher end guy still. But I would not be surprised if, weirdly, I think Ryan Mountcastle could kind of be the centerpiece of that trade.
Yeah, that's what everybody's been talking about is, you know, Castillo for Mountcastle and have that happen. So could be, but it's going to be interesting because, now I can just say Zach. Now I can just say Zach and it'll be you. That makes things easy. Yeah, but it's going to be tough because with this Orioles team, there's so many different moves they can make. You know, we're obviously trying to break things down and be like, okay, but we're still trying to, as this happens, figure it out and be like, okay, who is this guy? What are strengths? What are weaknesses? So I'm sure we're gonna get a lot more into it with Ryan on Thursday. But hey, a big league pitcher move. That's a big deal.
Yeah, that is a big deal. It is a big league pitcher move, and I think it's something that the Orioles and Orioles fans were looking for. It really is. So, Zach, are you good backstage to come back on? Or we, I think.
No, he's talking. He's on the phone. He's on the
phone. Yeah. So, this overall, I think this is whether you like 13 million for 1 year that's no small price.
No.
So, and I don't know if we're going to find out later on that other teams were or weren't involved, but the fact that the Orioles are willing to spend 13 million on a player that you don't know as much about, and the fact of he's from Japan, you haven't seen him besides the World Baseball Classic necessarily go up against this top competition. But I think new ownership, people talking about Elias being cheap and stuff. The Orioles have spent money this year.
Yeah, and hopefully many more millions to be spent on guys.
So. And what do we do with Rivera, Urias, and Mateo? How do we fit them all? You don't. It's pretty simple. You really can't. Not all of them are going to be on the team, especially to make the opening day roster because there are so many options. So I think probably 2 of them make it. I would assume if Mateo's healthy, Mateo's going to be on the team. Simple as that. Yeah. He brings a different level to the different aspect to the team that no one else really can with his speed and just electricity on the diamond.
Yeah. Hey, I know you're proudest. I know that you get a little tingly feeling when you see Jorge Mateo in center in the lineup.
I could never. That was what were we doing? That was such. Between that and when we kept putting O'Hearn in left field, like O'Hearn in right field's one thing, but we were having O'Hearn cover left. Wow, that was Kevin. You just gave me trauma. Just brought back trauma for me.
I just know how much you liked it, man. I just wanted to make your night a little better.
Yeah, gosh, Kevin. Kevin, anything else before we head out of here?
No, I mean, yeah, unexpected.
Very unexpected.
Bottom of the rotation guy, but honestly, that's okay. As long this reminds me, if we want to bring football into it, because of course, me being the Locked On Ravens guy, I have to do it. Reminds me of Nelson Aguilar, Odell Beckham Jr. Now, obviously, you hope the big money signing for the Orioles does a little better on the field than Odell did, but the Ravens signed Nelson Aguilar first. Everyone flipped out, was like, this is their move at wide receiver. Oh, this is terrible. Like the same old Ravens. And then I'm like, okay, as a move, it's fine. As the move, not fine. So it's the same thing here, right? You bring in a bottom of the rotation pitcher. That's as a move. That's fine. As the move, you're probably not living so great.
Mm-hmm. And Logan, appreciate you. If you are Heston right now, what are you thinking? I think he's in a platoon right now. I actually think Heston is going to get the most playing time he ever has. With Santander gone, I think he is going to get the keys to that DH spot. I think he's going to get the keys to playing in the outfield against righties. And I think this is actually going to be the year where they're going to tell Heston Kjerstad, go show us. Show us what you can do. The keys are yours. I don't know if it's going to be a consistent position, meaning I don't think it's going to be he's the right fielder or he's the DH. I think he switches between the two. But I'm excited. I think this is the year that Heston goes out there and really gets consistent, like 300 plus at bats.
Yeah. And look, whether it's as a DH, put him in the outfield, there's going to be a big role for Heston this season. And
that bat's too good.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, it's like you don't want him wasting away. Like he has too much talent. Like last year it was okay. He got Seti, he got Colton. Before the trade, he had Austin Hayes and he had Tony as well. It was a squeeze. But now playing time gets opened up, and plus, I just think I know that the Orioles are saying like, yeah, O'Neill's going to get a ton of like at bats and a ton of reps. I wouldn't do that necessarily. I would try to keep him as fresh as possible and still play him a lot. But if we're talking like 130 games for Tyler O'Neill, I'm trying to keep him fresh, like especially with the injury history. And I think Hessen is good enough to be in a full-time, like whether it's 50-50, 60-40, whatever it may be, platoon with Tyler O'Neill. Now I get the matchups, right? Lefty, righty, you're going to play that. But if I'm the Orioles, I'm trying to keep O'Neill as healthy as possible. In doing that, giving Heston more time.
Yeah, and I've seen people say O'Neill's probably going to DH. Yeah, we're going to see very early on kind of what their plan is for them. I do think overall this is going to be Heston's year. This is the year that they give it to him. You're going to play 130 games, 140 games, 120 games. Go prove it. Go prove why you are seen as this coveted bat in this organization. Why people have said he's the best, smoothest swing in the organization, stuff like that, best pure hitter. Hear all the things. Go prove it. So I'm excited for it. But yeah, the Baltimore Orioles make a move. They get a starting pitcher, Japanese pitcher Tomoyuki Sugano. I've listened to it like 7 times. I'm sure I still probably got it wrong, but Kevin, the Orioles got better today, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters. So appreciate you for tuning in. Appreciate Zach Lowther for hopping on with us as well and all the insight he brings. If you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. We go live after every single Orioles and Ravens game and when news breaks like this. So like and subscribe if you're new to the channel, if you enjoy the content. And we will see you next time for another edition of Kevin and Zach Reacts.